Hey, welcome to Living High, Wild, and Free. In today's video, we are going to discuss what I'm going to use for transportation to get into an extremely remote area in northern Saskatchewan for a wilderness moose hunt. In today's video, the star of the show is the christened meat rocket. Whoa! All right, let's get into it.
Living on wild and
The road that I'll be traveling with my vehicle and the canoe is extremely rough in northern Saskatchewan. It's one of the roughest and longest stretches of roads I've ever traveled on. It is extremely hard on equipment, and even though the truck suspension will absorb a lot of the shocks, the canoe will be getting jolted around and moved around on top of that, and that will also include the straps, which will over time loosen. And so these are my strategies to mitigate that and to lower the likelihood that the canoe will be damaged or the straps will actually fully fail and actually come off of the canoe. So this is an RSI Smart Cap here, and this right here is an add-on from our RSI Smart Cap. But obviously, the 2x4s are something that I've manufactured. I've done this to help absorb some of the blow, give the canoe a little bit more sturdy thing that can compress compared to just putting it on this metal here that's also abrasive. I was kind of concerned that over time with the canoe actually rubbing on this kind of hard surface like this, that it would actually wear into the metal of the canoe itself. So this wood will help cushion a little bit of the blow, but also give a firm thing to hold the canoe down to. And the only thing that's holding all of this in right here is a eye bolt that goes all the way through this wood here and then feeds into a bolt that's actually inside the stripping right here. It's a very simple and effective way, I think anyways. I've yet to test it out on the road, but just driving it around on, paved roads, I should mention. Some off-roading, obviously, to get to this location, but nothing like the abuse that this setup is going to take on its way up north. But overall, it's performed very well. And in addition to those straps, I'll also have tie-off points in the rear to my bumper, and then up front in front of the truck, I'll also have tie-offs up there. More as a safety precaution, those tie-offs aren't really going to add to the stability of this unit traveling down the road, but it'll be a secondary fail. Like if both these straps fail and I don't notice it in time and they come off and they come loose enough that the canoe is able to freely move, those tie-offs will hopefully hold the canoe on long enough that I can pull over and reestablish the straps. And then B, it's really difficult for me to actually see the canoe. And so I find that when I put on straps, especially in the front and in the rear, it kind of acts as like a canary in the coal mine. Like when I start to see those straps moving around, I know that that canoe is loose then. And then again, it's time to pull over and reestablish the straps, make sure that everything is tight, because the last thing that I want is for that canoe to come off of the truck when I don't want it to. Grammy's getting some good sniffs over there. I had to move to kind of just a sandbar area because a couple of families showed up to go to the beach and swim in the water, and they're playing music, having a good old time, and the kids were screaming and being joyous and all that. But I didn't want that in the background because I didn't want to give the impression that maybe I was on the beach of Epstein's Island or something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I wanted to leave them alone and let them have fun, and um give a little bit better audio for you listeners. This is the bare bones setup here, minus the water jug, but for this, the water jug is really nice because it's full of river water. So adding a little bit of weight in the front, along with that little guy over there that's giving it some good sniffs. And in the back here, we have a already well used Honda 5 horse. I believe this is a 2022 model, so I've had it for about 3 years now. And I've actually primarily just used it to access hunting land that is otherwise landlocked by private property that I can't get permission to access. But since it's public land, I access it through the river. So it's kind of similar to this, where I beach the boat and walk up into the woods, and I'm on public property that is landlocked by private property, and I can get into some very, very good whitetail deer territory because of that. And hence why I dubbed it the meat rocket. This is primarily a hunting canoe for me. I have done a little bit of fishing with it, but not a lot. This engine is way overkill for this boat. 5 horses for this little tiny canoe, even though I'm a Sasquatch and I'll have this thing loaded up with gear and hopefully moose meat. It is way too much for this canoe, but I got it just for that. I want to be able to overload this thing, put a bunch of weight into it, and be able to traverse even against the current. Now for this hunting trip, I plan to go in, I'll be downstream of where I'd like to go. So I'll go upstream. And so if anything happens, like the motor goes down, or say I'm way overloaded, whatever it might be, I'm not going to be going up against the current. So hopefully, we'll never have to use the full extent of that engine, which is just fine with me. And there's no, 3 different reasons why I chose this Honda outboard over all other competition, because there's a lot of different small uh, outboard engines on the market made by various different manufacturers. One, I trust Honda. I've had some really good experiences with their engines. Not This is my first marine application, but so far so good. 3 years, no issues. I did buy brand new, so I mean that's not saying a whole bunch because it's basically a brand new engine. Um, the second thing, external input for fuel source. There's a 3-gallon external tank that I can then hook up to this engine, and 3 gallons for this engine will last forever, forever and ever. I've actually never ever used it more than a gallon, even in between uses and blah blah blah. Like I've traveled a lot with it. It is very very fuel efficient. I do plan to also bring not only 3 gallons in that jerry can, but I'll bring an extra 6 gallons just in case. I don't know how far I can get, how much fuel I'll use. I think that is way, 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 way overboard. But I'll bring it because I have the space this go around. I will have less space, obviously, if I'm carrying back a moose. So I want to just see how much fuel I actually use on a scouting trip. Um, the second thing is that it actually has an alternator that feeds into small little, um, moped battery. That's just like a little tiny, I think it's like 100 cranking amps or something like that, cold cranking amps. Very small, maybe even like 50 or something like that. And it feeds into that and actually charges it so I can use it to run my navigation system. And then in the back here, I actually have a USB connector, so that I can charge my equipment like camera gear, things like that. When I first started doing canoe trips, I used to just take out like one of those little tiny uh, external battery packs and use that for like a 2-week trip. And now it's like that's not even close to enough, mostly because of the camera gear, but also just technology has become more and more of a fundamental for me, like such an importance in like all the different electronics that I use and so on and so forth, that those little tiny battery packs just don't cut it anymore for me. So it's super nice to have that ability to charge in very remote areas, that I have a supply of electricity as I'm navigating through the river, that I can charge my various equipment through that. And so I don't have to bring additional batteries. I will bring some just as supplementary power, or just more easy than lugging around a big, lead acid battery, like into my tent and stuff like that. But for the most part, most of the energy will be coming from the engine into that battery, and then I'll be using it accordingly. So that's a brief overview of why I chose this engine. I have made two small modifications from the factory. One being I changed out the pitch of the prop here. From the factory, there's a 6.5 prop. I changed it out for a 7.5, just to give the motor less grip in the water. Because I found that, because this engine's overpowered as it is for this setup, having a more aggressive prop just made it kind of come out of the water more quickly and just made it feel a little too sensitive, where this will give me a higher top end, which I really don't need, but it just makes that lower end a little less grabby. And then the second thing is I just adjusted the idle so that it really idles down so that it makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more manageable, like when I'm doing kind of detailed work, like if I'm beaching the boat or I'm turning around, those sorts of things. And then also going in and out of gear, it just makes it feel a little bit more manageable when you're trying to do like more detailed work rather than just like, going from A to B kind of thing. Speaking of going from A to B, this navigation unit is actually a new addition to the Canoe along with the battery. Um, I really enjoy using it for navigation. As you can see, kind of on my map there, I have gotten a little bit of the depth of the river that we're on, but it also just shows where I've traveled, and so it kind of gives me an idea of where I should travel back, and then also I can put waypoints while I'm out hunting. Say I find a lot of sign in an area, I can put a waypoint there, and I can travel back to that area. I can put a waypoint at camp, so on and so forth. It gives me a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more safety, just in case something happens and I can't travel back to camp until night, for whatever reason. Not to say that that's a safe thing to do, but at least I can do it if I really need to. That if it's a very important thing for whatever reason happens, I can travel in low visibility, smoke, whatever, when I'm using that navigation unit. And also with the navigation system, it comes with a depth finder. I have tried using this depth finder while navigating, and it does work. I have done it. It can work. The only issue is obviously the Canoe is very sensitive to drag. So this can cause extra drag on one side, which kind of makes it difficult to use the Canoe and like navigate it properly. It kind of makes it really cumbersome because it's like I always have to watch exactly how balanced I am in the Canoe, because if I lean a little bit too close to where on the side of the deucer's in, all of a sudden it catches really hard. When I do slow down, it's no problem. Like when I'm just kind of idling or going very slowly, it's no big deal to throw it into the water, map out a certain area. That's kind of nice thing about a river is that, you can gauge by the way that the water's swirling or pooling. Maybe if it's clear enough, like the water is here, you can actually see where there's a drop off. And so, I can visually see as I'm traveling, maybe areas that I want to fish, and then I can use that sonar, that deucer, to then map out that area to get a really good idea of where the structure of that spot is, or I can actually use it to actively find fish. Okay, hey, right there, good boy, good job. That is enough of an overview. It's a very simple setup, but it's very effective. So let's go see how it all works. Or if it does, see if the engine starts. So with low throttle, we're traveling right now against current, and the water is high right now, so current's high for this river. It should be close to the river that I'll be hunting on. But at moderate throttle, we're at now 4 miles per hour, just over at 415 to 410, 4.10 miles per hour. And now I would say that we're about at half throttle right now, and I'm traveling at almost 6 miles per hour. The motor itself can throttle up even more at this point, but now the canoe is becoming very unstable. It's fine right now, but if anything shifted out of place, the canoe would probably flip over. So I'm going to lower the speed to something that's a bit more manageable. It seems like that 5 mile per hour, as of right now, unloaded, 5 miles per hour seems to be the top speed against the current. Now, obviously, with some gear in the boat and distributing the weight properly, I could go up even higher. It was just purely like the motor itself and everything was fine. It was just the stability of the canoe. The canoe was coming out of the water too much, and I was riding on just a narrow part of the canoe, and so it just made it feel very tippy. So that's something to keep in mind for this trip, that really, realistically, the most speed I can have, the top end speed going up against current is 5 miles per hour safely. Oh, just like that, Remy laid down. And that if that happened while we were traveling at that speed, it could have rolled the boat kind of thing, right? If I was just a little off, whatever, mistakes happen. Now, downstream is a different case. So let's turn around and see what kind of speeds we can achieve going down speed or downstream. So right at low idle, going downstream in the exact same spot, I'm achieving 4.3 miles per hour. So this is as slow as I can travel with the current. And now with just moderate throttle, barely anything into the throttle, there's so much more that the engine can give right now. I'm achieving 7.6 miles per hour, and the canoe itself feels very stable at this point. So now as I approach 10 miles per hour, things again are stable enough right now that I feel safe doing this at this moment. But if anything changed, any weight dynamics shifted in this canoe, it could potentially cause a rollover, because again, the canoe is coming out of the water too much and I'm riding at too little of a surface area of the canoe. So right around the 6.5 to 7 miles per hour speed range for this load is a very comfortable speed to achieve while going with the current. Whoa. Well, we have traveled about 2 miles, 2.5 miles from my truck. I've been kind of testing out this electrical charging system, just kind of seeing what RPMs I need to reach with the motor to charge the battery under what is a full load for me, which is uh, charging a set of batteries, and then also having the navigation unit running with the screen at 100% brightness. So it's not able to charge those things at idle, but it doesn't take a lot for the engine to at least, break even so that it's charging these things, but it's not drawing from the battery. And then it needs about quarter throttle to actually start to just trickle charge. I mean, just barely start to tickle the battery itself and replenish the charge. So going upstream, that's not going to be an issue at all, because I'm typically going to be traveling at, roughly half throttle. So plenty to, tickle the battery and also charge all of my electronics and run the navigation unit and blah, blah, blah. Going downstream, it might be a little bit more of an issue, because I don't expect to be traveling more than a quarter throttle at most, just because, again, this will be fairly new terrain. I mean, I will have passed that area once before and have my track, but I don't know exactly the twists and turns in the river. Maybe I'll be able to see it more clearly than I'm thinking I will be, like with the daylight. But I don't know. I haven't been on that river before, so I have no idea. So I might be able to travel faster than I'm thinking I will be able to, but I want to be cautious about that and be kind of mindful about my charging so that I don't run into a situation where I don't have any more power to charge my electronics. As far as starting the engine goes, it's no problem at all because the starter's right here. So that's no big deal. I mean, I can, I just am thinking the battery itself, like lead acid batteries don't like to be drawn down and left drawn down that far. So it's definitely something. Oh, yeah, just as we're sitting here, I have the drone charging and the navigation unit charging. And I've been sitting here for like 10 minutes, just kind of, getting the camera started and everything like that. And the display just dropped. So the voltage dropped too far for the display. And it seems like, yeah, it's dropped, the voltage has dropped to 8 volts. So that's battery is done. So let's hit back to the water. I'll talk about a little bit more about like what I'm finding. I feel pretty dialed in at this point. Those are famous last words. I know I just jinxed myself pretty hard. Oh god, that's a recipe for flipping the canoe. Saying that you're pretty dialed in. Oh god. Well, I'll blame it on the sun. I'm feeling a little sun baked right now. All right, now everything's unplugged with the electronic system here, and we're just coming above 8 volts now, so it's at 8.4 and rising. And this is just at a slight, sorry about the sun. I'm sure all right. Just came up onto a sandbank. So I wasn't paying attention. Oh, luckily I wasn't going very fast and the engine was propped up. So no big deal on the engine. Wah. There we go, just like that. That's what's nice about the canoe is, there's not a lot of room here, but there's also not a lot of weight for me to have to, maneuver by myself. So it's kind of nice in that regard. In the comfort regard, yeah, sometimes you just gotta stretch out, find a little room, make a little room. Not that I recommend doing this, but I'm actually able to go hands free on the motor. I have it tightened down enough that it will move when I give it some beans, some elbow grease. But at least going at a lower speed like I am right now, the motor's fixed in place and I'm actually able to kind of steer the boat just gradually by leaning either way. Again, I don't recommend doing it, but it sure is nice rather than being all twisted up like I am when my hand is on the tiller handle. I hate to jinx myself, but I feel that this setup is as close as I can get it to dialed in for now. Of course, there's always room for improvements. I'm kind of thinking a light bar up front would be really handy. Well, the sun's setting and Remy and I are going to head back to the truck and get something to eat. But in the next couple of days, I have an incredibly difficult decision to make. I have a week off to head up north, and I can't decide on taking the canoe on a scouting trip to the river I plan to hunt this fall, or do I take my boat up and head to big water to chase lake trout? What do you think? It's a smart idea to scout, especially in unknown territory, but the lake trout are heading into pre-spawn right now, and the fishing could be unbelievable. Either way, it is going to be a wild time, and I'll film it all. So be sure to subscribe, and until next time, keep living high, wild, and free.